7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's now time for the Pony Cake Sports Podcast with your hosts, Josh Stevens, Tim Thompson, and Tom Schultz. Woo!
Hey there, everybody. We are back with another episode, and as always, I'm joined with Tim and Tom. Guys, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Joshua. How are you?
Doing good, Tim. Oh, whoa, look at that hair.
Tim, shaved his head.
Shaved it.
He's had this, Julian Edelman haircut for a long time.
I have.
Like, him and our buddy Kevin Long always have these hipster haircuts.
You used to call Macklemore from time to time.
Yeah.
You did. That's true. No, I Wednesday after work, I got home, put the kids to bed, and it was one of those moments you look in the mirror, you don't like who you see. Fresh start, boys. Shaved it off, all gone. Wife, not very happy. Work, not very happy.
Why wouldn't work be happy with that?
I had one of my bosses, if you would, say, "What happened?" And I said, "What the fuck do you think happened? I shaved my head." And then he said, "But you had such nice hair. It'll grow back." Told them that I was tired of being the handsome young go-getter. I needed a fresh start. So, it feels good. It's summertime. It's really hot.
You should grow a mustache.
You should.
If I grow a mustache, I keep being told that I look like a skinhead. I keep telling those people, anytime a white man shaves his head, he looks like a skinhead. Naturally, no matter what. I'm told that my height to weight portion with a shaved head does not help for my skinhead looking status. So it is what it is. But I'm happy. I feel free. No more having to put gel in my hair, be in a suit. It's a summer look, boys. Grow it back in the wintertime.
Fair enough. We have a keep cut trade episode for you today. And Tom,
Thanks for saying it right, bitch.
who are the three players we are discussing?
We got Ronald Jones. We got Royce Freeman, and Sony Michel.
No nickname for Mr. Michel there, huh?
I can't remember what his Twitter handle is. It's pretty good. It's not on the same level as Michael Thomas, obviously, since I don't even remember it, but it's all right. It's probably one of the better ones besides Darius Geis, these rookie running backs. Darius Geis is pretty sick. It's the sickest. I love him.
What's his?
Sony Michel's, I don't know.
Sony Michel's is Fly Guy 2 Stacks.
That's pretty sweet.
With a Z.
It's pretty sweet.
That's pretty dumb. I love Sony Michel. I hate that Twitter handle.
I do not like that Twitter handle at all.
You know, like Fly Guy?
No. Fly Guy what?
2 Stacks?
Fly Guy 2 Stacks. With a Z. So
So he can't spell right.
He's keeping it 100. I like it.
No, he's a fly guy, and he flies 2 stacks of money. Is this how? I don't know. I don't get the reference. I don't get it. Here's just a couple of white dudes trying to break down a black man's Twitter handle. That's all this is.
So obviously, if you guys have been following along with this segment that we've been doing, they've been pretty much players that have been in the league and are established and have very fair trade value, known trade value, and pretty comparable ADPs. These guys, they all have comparable ADPs as well. But again, they haven't been in the league yet until just now, and they are, of course, all rookies, and all on spots where they are going to be pretty much, quote-unquote, the lead dog in a sense. So when you guys broke this down for the keep cut trade, did you go off of just their talent alone, their landing spot, or did you factor in the guys that were there in those positions last year and what they did as well?
Can I start, Josh?
I guess.
I want to start. I want to be the authoritative figure that I am now that I have no hair. Listen, I took everything into consideration because that's what we're here for.
Okay.
If you take one of those things and that's it, you're a schmuck.
Yeah.
You must have been a part of the 515 crew that is no longer in existence. Why? Because I torched them. I tore them apart last year. They were so sad and downtrodden. They left the whole fantasy football podcasting world altogether. The Flyer Wire's next. Bunch of bums over there. Nevertheless.
Back Row Sports now, too, is trying to get on that
Backdoor
train,
Sports.
so.
Good for them. Anyways.
I like that name.
Backdoor Sports? I'm sure you do.
Back door's always open in my household.
Nevertheless, Yeah, but it's their back door is always open. That's the issue. Unless that's your fancy. Never mind that. These three guys aren't all number one on their depth chart. Sony Michel right now has a couple of guys. Rex Burkhead, who's obviously was there last year, had some success. And now another guy in Jeremy Hill comes over. Had moderate success in Cincinnati at times when he was able to stay healthy. I like Sony Michel a lot as a Georgia fan. You know that. But I'm not convinced that he's the number one. You move on to Royce Freeman. Royce Freeman is not the guy in Denver. Great name, great stats in college. Doesn't mean that he's the guy. The only clear number one on the depth chart, Ronald Jones III. RJ3, if you would. Guys, I don't get how he's not everyone's keep. Josh did not like him from the start. I get that. This is a perfect placement for him, though. This is a placement thing. It goes to a team in dire need. No one else in Tampa Bay is going to take away from his carries. You go back to what he accomplished in college. 19 touchdowns last year on a team that was primarily focused around Sam Darnold. Do you think about USC? Do you think rushing? No. The last rusher that you think of when you think of USC is Reggie Bush. Ronald Jones III, better than Reggie Bush. Better stats than Reggie Bush. You just go back to Jameis Winston being out the first 3 games, right? 3 game suspension for him. That helps Ronald Jones. He's going to just be fed the football over and over and over. Listen, they have multiple tight ends that might be an issue with in the red zone. They have Mike Evans. They have, isn't Deshaun Jackson still there? Is still there. That there's mouths to feed there. But when it comes to running the football, he is guaranteed to be fed. He's going to have close to 20 carries a game on average. Watch it happen.
Completely disagree with you, Tim. Ronald Jones, he's not going to be my keep. And grading these rookies, it's kind of a difficult process to do. You got to look at a bunch of things. There's a bunch of different boxes that I like for my rookie running backs to check when I'm trying to ranking them, grading them, and also basing on their film study as well. And for me, the guy that I'm going to be keeping is the guy who I graded the highest in our pre-draft process film grading, and that's Sony Michel. There's something that is overlooked a lot when ranking these fantasy running backs, the rookie running backs, is where they actually got selected in the NFL draft. Out of these 3 guys, the only one that was selected in the first round was Sony Michel. The last 5 running backs selected in the first round of the NFL draft have averaged 224 rushing attempts and 40 receptions. When a team selects a running back in the first round, you could almost guarantee that they are going to use him a lot. He's going to have a big-time workload, and that is something that's invaluable in fantasy football. Another important box for Sony Michel is the location he got drafted. The New England Patriots. This is one of the best offenses in the NFL every year. Since 2001, they've been a top 12 offense every year. They have Tom Brady leading that offense. As much as I hate him, Josh McDaniels is an offensive guru. He knows how to use every weapon on that team. And you got to look, the past 5 years, no other team in the NFL has had more rushing attempts inside the opponent's 10-yard line than the New England Patriots. That's a reason the last 2 years they've come close to 20 touchdowns total for the running backs. Deion Lewis was their number 1 back last year. He's gone. That's over 200 touches that are opening up. And I really think Sony Michel is going to step in day one and take that role that Deion Lewis had last year. And I think he's got the best potential out of these 3 guys to be RB1 this year.
Tom, to your point as well, the Patriots also not a team known for drafting running backs early in the draft. So I do agree with you on that point. But to be different than both of you, my keep would be Mr. Royce Freeman. I think you guys could both guess that. Royce Freeman I love, coming out of college, out of Oregon. Had a lot of carries when he was there. He's 6 foot, 229 pounds. He was drafted in the 3rd round, early in the 3rd round. His 40 time was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be at a 4.54. Everybody thought he was going to be slow. He actually ran it a little bit quicker. And you were talking about Deion Lewis, where there's going to be X amount of touches left on the table. Who's not there anymore for the Denver Broncos? It's going to be running back C.J. Anderson. C.J. Anderson's gone. That's 245 carries that is going to be available for him. Yeah, you could tell me that Devontae Booker is going to take some of those touches. Devontae Booker ended up on the season with under 100 fantasy points. I could see him maybe getting around that as well this year. Maybe, in that ballpark of 80 to 100 fantasy points. I don't think he's going to be that big of a factor in that offense. I think that when the Denver Broncos drafted Royce Freeman, they drafted a player that's kind of like a Jordan Howard, but can catch the ball a little bit better. That's the way I look at it. Jordan Howard was a 5th-round pick. The Bears found gold with that pick. I think the Denver Broncos did their homework, and they got a very, very capable running back that is going to be very, very good with a new quarterback coming from the Minnesota Vikings that loves to dump the ball off to the running back. Royce Freeman is going to be my keep.
So I'll stay on that. I'll keep the flow going here, and I'll go to cut. That's the order, and it's the guy you just mentioned as your keep, Joshua.
Jesus.
He's my cut. He is has the worst name value in my personal opinion. The Denver Broncos have a pretty much a pattern history here over the last 8 years or so with running backs who end up getting injured, and they never have the same guy over and over and over for quite a while now, over the last, we'll say, 5 to 7 years. Beyond that, my issue is the competition. It is the name value. I would keep him above Sony Michel, but do you have any idea how many attempts rushing attempts Royce Freeman had in college?
Overall?
Yes.
Probably,
you don't.
Probably like almost 980.
947 rushing attempts.
That's pretty cool.
That is a huge number.
That's not even taking into account his receiving.
Correct. Michel and Rojo were actually only one off of each other. 590 and 591. Even you go back to Ezekiel Elliott. He was right in the 590s. Saquon Barkley was 670. Those are big numbers. Now, I get that he was a 4-year starter and that attributes to it, but that's still a ton. There's a lot of mileage on those legs. Beyond that, a lot of his success was offensive based. If Freeman would have ended up on a different team, if he would have ended up on the Chicago Bears, the Kansas City Chiefs, a team like that, I would like his value much more. The Broncos aren't in the system to make someone like Royce Freeman successful, in my personal opinion. Outside of that, you go to his best days. He had a rebound year last year, but his best years were his freshman and sophomore year. He had a good year last year, but was it a better year than Ronald Jones? No. Was it a better year than Sony Michel? Nope. A very similar year to Sony Michel, but he's not. He's just not there. He doesn't have the name value. His size scares me. Listen, bigger backs like this with that many miles on them, there's a lot of things that are detrimental to what he's going to bring. He could very well go off this year. Listen, I'm not sold on Devontae Booker. I'm not saying that he can't go out there and do great things, because there are things, I believe, when we broke down his film, I said that he ran similar to Le'Veon Bell in the way that he kind of stops, looks for the hole, and then explodes through there. And for his size, he does very well for that. But based on these threes, based on what we know right now, Royce Freeman is going to be my cut.
With Freeman, Tim, you're doing a good job bashing him right now. And for me, though, I'm not really worried about his usage. I'm not worried about Booker. You look at what the Broncos, what that coaching staff did last year with C.J. Anderson. They rode that man, even though he was, I believe out of the success rate, Warren Sharp, who's a good analytics guy for football, he said C.J. Anderson was 56 out of 57th most successful running backs and most reliable running back. So completely ineffective. And they just gave him a bunch of carries and extremely volume dependent. And that's the one thing that's working in Royce Freeman's favor.
And he still finished as a running back too.
Yeah, and I still think Royce Freeman is going to get the volume there in Denver, which I think is a good thing. And that's something that you can't disregard in fantasy. There could be a very bad running back like C.J. Anderson last year. That dude still had 1,000 yards last year. His touchdown total was down, and they released him because he wasn't that good last year. I think Royce Freeman will be an upgrade over him. He got a better passing game, better quarterback. Hopefully Garrett Bowles can take a couple steps forward this year. And I like that Broncos offense better this year, which I think will help Royce Freeman out a lot. For me, though, my cut was it's Ronald Jones. So Tim's shaking his head. But it's simple. When we're kind of doing this exercise right now, Ronald Jones, out of these three guys, he's running back 27. I believe Freeman is running back 25.
Okay, so we're going to trust ADP.
Yeah, because for me, on most cases, Royce Freeman will be more valuable, and I'll be able to get more things out of him than Ronald Jones. If it's Dynasty, I might be looking at a little bit different, but I took this into account. We're just doing straight redraft.
Yeah, if it's straight redraft, year to year, that makes the most sense.
And I know you're not going to be hearing any of this, Tim, but
I'm here. I'm listening.
I think Peyton Barber has a chance to get some carries.
You're right. I'm not listening. You're right.
To take some early down work from
You
Rojo.
don't believe that. You don't believe that.
No, I do. He was the most efficient running back that the Buccaneers had last year.
Through the first 3 games of Jameis Winston's suspension, Peyton Barber will have under 10 attempts, and Ronald Jones III will have over 15 in all 3 games.
I could see them getting blown out in each of those games because they're playing some very good football teams, and I could see both of these guys not getting many rushing attempts, in all honesty, when Jameis is out.
I completely agree, Tom. My cut is also Paul Perkins, a.k.a. Ronald Jones. What is he, the second? The third? The third? Believe me, I'm a Bucks fan, but I am not a believer. Not a believer
He's the
in
second.
Mr. The second. You lied to me. I'm not a believer in Ronald Jones. Peyton Barber, yeah, he could get carries. He could split work. That team, that offense is there to throw the ball. They have so many receiving weapons. It doesn't matter who's going to be playing quarterback, just for the fact that Jameis Winston is out for the first 3 weeks due to injury, not suspension, that possibly you could see a little bit more of the running game. But I still think with the guys that they have to throw the ball to, they have to air the ball out. That is what their team is based off of. So
my last ditch effort to try to sway you guys here on Ronald Jones.
Not gonna happen.
He played in an offense with a very effective and talented quarterback. That has to be...
Who?
Thank you very much. He played with Sam Darnold. The offense was focused around Sam Darnold. This is why I believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers brought him in. He knows how to play in a place where the quarterback's the guy. He was never an issue, never anything. Beyond that, throughout his freshman and sophomore year, 153 and 177 attempts, and he was effective. Last year was the first year he was really given the keys to the kingdom. 13 games, 260 rushing attempts, 1,550 yards, and 19 touchdowns. Josh, I don't understand how, as a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, you aren't excited about that. After dealing with such mediocrity at the position, you had the one big fluke year from Doug Martin. Bringing someone in like this who can play, he knows how to block, he knows how to run the ball, he catches a little bit. He's never been great at it, but he can catch the football a little bit. He has a receiving touchdown in each of his years playing. He's played in every game, I believe, for USC since he came to the school. I don't get how people are so down on him. He's not the sexiest pick, but he is the guy. I'm excited, and I'm not even a Bucks fan.
I would have rather had the Bucks draft Royce Freeman. That's just me.
Okay, we'll move on. Go ahead, Tom. What are you saying?
For me, it's not that I don't like Ronald Jones. I do like Ronald Jones. Extremely good athlete. If they're putting him in an outside zone scheme in Tampa, I think he's going to thrive in that system. I think he could be an effective receiving running back there in Tampa. But out of these three guys in a redraft league, he's the guy I'd least want on my team come draft day, especially when they're all being drafted between the the end of the fourth and middle of the fifth. I don't have that much confidence in Ronald Jones this year to be a starting running back for my team.
That makes me happy because we all play in the same league together, so we'll find out then. Josh, the last thing I will say to you is Ronald Jones' season last year was better than any season that Royce Freeman had in 4 years at Oregon.
What was his rushing numbers?
He had 15, 50, 20 overall touchdowns, 19 of them rushing. Freeman's best year, he had 1836 yardage, but he only had 17 touchdowns rushing and 2 of them receiving. So I take more value in touchdowns. I feel like anyone would, especially when it comes to fantasy football. But nevertheless, we will not agree on that. Let's go to my trade. My trade is one Sony Michel. To all of your point, Michel and Rojo's stats, very, very similar. I feel like the name value is there. People are hot on him, especially after his performance in the BCS National Championship game. And outside of that, how many years in a row have we played this is the New England Patriots guy. He's the one. He's going to explode. He's going to take over. And the only person who has ever done that in the Tom Brady era is LeGarrette Blount. He's the only one. There's other people there. There's 3 starting quarterbacks or running backs right now in New England. And for the last couple of years, Deion Lewis was the guy. He was going to be it. He was going to have the big fantasy
year. He was
year.
RB13 last year in PPR. That's a fantastic year. And he only started in 13 games.
I agree with you. He was a reputable start, if you would. But they've never had the guy. When I'm thinking of the guy as a...
like a Le'Veon Bell type.
Exactly. You're thinking of a top guy. You've had, with the New England Patriots, you just never know. What was it? Last year, Rex Burkhead scored, 3 touchdowns week 1?
No, it was Gillislee.
Gillislee. 3 touchdowns week 1, and then fell off the face of the earth pretty much after that.
Yeah, he got a majority of the snaps, I believe, for the first 3 or 4 weeks.
But from being successful doing it was really only week 1. My point is, New England likes to mix things up. They like to have a different guy each week. That's what I believe they pride themselves on, is being able to have going back to when they were coming out of nowhere and Troy Brown was scoring touchdowns. Mike Vrabel was scoring touchdowns for them. They like to just have you not knowing who they're going to play, and that's why they now have 3 potential starting running backs. You don't know who the game plan is going to be for any given week. Let someone else worry about that. Let someone else have that thought of, hey, this could be a 15-point week or it could be a 3-point week. I'm not going to focus on that. I'm not going to worry about it, and I'm going to rake in the benefits of you taking on that headache. Go ahead. I left you both speechless. This makes you feel good.
I was doing the math, and you said for fantasy purposes it would make more sense for the person to have more touchdowns. But you're also disregarding the fact that Royce Freeman had more receptions than Ronald Jones did as well, and had another receiving touchdown. If you added it all up, Royce Freeman would be at 20 or 30 more fantasy points in the year. So, suck a dick. My trade would be Sony Michel. Again, to Tim's point, name value is out there. As much as I would want to cut Sony Michel, I think that when Tom was talking about the fact that Deion Lewis was there, that there's going to be a lot of opportunity there for Sony Michel to get those carries and those touches, I think right there, a lot of people's eyes are going to light up. First round pick, you have that trade value chip right there, and you're going to get back a good return. I like Sony Michel. He just fumbles a lot. That's all.
That's the one big thing that I am worried about. The only good news on that is he's gotten better. His per rush fumbling percentage, or whatever the hell you would call it, has gotten better each and every single one of his seasons at Georgia. So hopefully Bill Belichick can fix that. But I totally get where you guys are coming from. I think Sony Michel right now, if you were to trade any 3 of these guys, you'd probably get the most value out of him. A lot of that due just the offense he landed in. He was a first-round pick, and I do agree with that, but obviously he was my keep, and I think I said earlier Royce Freeman was going to be my trade. but he was the guy going next. That's the main reason I picked him. I think a lot of people are getting on that train, that Royce Freeman train right now. A couple weeks ago on the draft app, I've been doing those best ball leagues. He was going in the 9th round, and they kind of updated the ADP. Now it's the end of the 5th. So people are taking notice. People are believing that he's going to be the starting running back there in Denver, and that's valuable, especially if you can get a guy who's going to be a starting running back in the 5th round.
And especially if you're not sold on him either.
Yeah, and then even if you get Freeman, worst case you have to get Booker as handcuff. You can get him super cheap right now as well. But I'm a believer in Freeman right now personally, and I think a lot of other people are as well.
Yeah, Royce Freeman now going, like you said, the 25th ranked running back, round 5 now.
Yep.
Pretty crazy.
That makes sense.
Were you crunching numbers over there? What were you going to...
It's I'm not 100% positive. You weren't taking Rojo's receptions as well in his best year. It's close. Freeman's probably still in the lead, but it's not as it's much closer than.
I took into account his 14 receptions.
Okay. It depends on if you're playing half point, if you're playing full point PPR.
Full point PPR.
Okay. It depends on it just depends on how you're playing.
You lost him.
No,
no point to keep fighting.
I don't know yet. We'll see.
We'll crunch the numbers and we'll go ahead and let everybody know.
I know math doesn't change. If it was Josh's brother doing the math, I might believe it. Josh, though, I don't know about Jay Cutler over here. I don't trust his math skills.
It is. All right, guys. Anything else?
That's all I got.
This was my favorite keep cut trade by far.
This was a good one. I enjoyed this one. It's kind of tough talking about rookies when you don't have any quote-unquote proven stats yet.
Yep.
So,
and if I were to have to rank them in order of how I would draft them compared to ADP, I would be Rojo, Royce, and then Sony 3.
All right.
I know you guys are probably Sony, or you're probably Royce, Sony, Rojo, but
I'm Sony, Royce, Rojo.
I'd be close to that, yeah.
I'd be close to that.
All right, that's all we have for you guys this time. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, you guys follow us on Twitter, at PonyKegSports, at Pony_Keg_Tom, and at Fight Talk Tim. And until next time.
Bye-bye.